Hey guys, Omni here. You know the drill by now. We got a new episode of What If, and that means a new breakdown from New Rockstars. So we're going to be diving into that. I love this episode. I thought it was a blast. It was definitely a grim and gloomy episode for sure, and I liked that about it. It still had a lot of that same humor that we come to expect, but it definitely had a little bit of a darker twist to it, and I don't know. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun seeing how they played around with that, but that all being said, if you haven't checked out my reaction, I hope you do check it out. If you are not subscribed to New Rockstars, what are you even doing? Anyway, let's go ahead and see what Eric Voss has to say.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Marvel's What If Episode 3, in which the Avengers get a taste of another kind of vengeance that ends up popping the Hulk like a zip.
Boom. You looking for this?
I'm gonna go back through this episode frame by frame for all the Easter eggs and hidden animation details that you might have overlooked. We open on Monday. This episode uses days of the week to structure its 5 acts because this is what's known in the Marvel timeline as Fury's Big Week, in which the events of Iron Man 2, Hulk, and Thor all take place at the same time, based off of some newsreel footage that we saw at the end of Iron Man 2 and a line in Iron Man 2 about Coulson headed off to New Mexico. Fury drives with Natasha Romanoff.
There was an idea to bring together a group of
remarkable people to see if they could become something more. I know, I've heard the speech.
Samuel L. Jackson is back as Fury. Natasha is actually voiced by Lake Bell. This is, of course, his Fury's big speech that he uses to rally Cap and Tony after Coulson's death in the 2012 Avengers film.
There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people, see if they could become something more. See if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battles that we never could.
Natasha's pointed finger lines up perfectly with the reflection of Tony sitting in the donut. This shop is Randy's Donuts in Los Angeles, but the framing of most of the shots here kind of frames out the Randy's, including the windows and the interior shots, though as they pull up in the car, you can see the RA at the top of the donut there. All of the framing and music and dialogue
Maybe like a
here
branding
is mirrored
thing
from Iron Man 2.
Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to exit the donut.
Though in the movie, on the sidewalk was 3:16 for John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Which, as a detail in Iron Man 2, I always liked as a reflection of that movie's father and son themes, with Howard Stark offering his only son, Tony, as this sacrificial savior of humanity. But 3:16 does not appear here, maybe as a way of showing that in this universe, Tony Stark never gets the chance to be that savior. As he does in the movie,
That's a nice little
I
detail.
told you, I don't want to join your super secret boy band.
Now, Tony is voiced here not by Robert Downey Jr., but by Mick Wingert, who has actually voiced Tony Stark in a number of Marvel animated titles. He sounds almost exactly like
it
Robert
was a
Downey
pretty
Jr. Fury points
strong
the Palladium
impression
poisoning
there.
on Tony's neck, and he says,
You become a problem I have to deal with. Contrary to your belief, you are not the center of my universe.
now this line in the movie flows directly into a reference to the events in Thor.
You have become a problem I have to deal with. Contrary to your belief, you are not the center of my universe.
Yeah, I get
I have bigger problems than you in the Southwest region to deal with.
But Fury here never gets to that because Natasha's lithium dioxide injection causes an adverse reaction that kills Tony. Now, Natasha in the movie said,
It's not a cure, it just abates the symptoms.
which she says here but draws out the line as she realizes Tony is dying.
Yeah.
It's not a cure. It just abates the symptoms.
Stark, you okay?
Fury looks down at Tony in shock and he cross-dissolves into the Watcher. The slideshow takes us through memorable shots from Fury's Big Week in the movies. Tony's hiding his poisoning and fighting Whiplash and Monaco. Bruce Banner emerging from some Hulk wreckage, though notice they changed Banner's appearance to look more like Mark Ruffalo, who was recast as the character after Ed Norton played
It would have
him
been
in
really
the
interesting
Hulk
if
film.
that
Just kind of
they
erasing Ed
just
Norton's whole
had
appearance
Ed
from the
Norton.
cinematic universe,
Ed
aren't we?
Newton.
And then some images from
Edward
Battle of New York
Norton
a couple years ago. Clint and Natasha
as him in
fighting
this.
Chitauri, Hulk smashing Loki, and the Avengers lining up. And then we catch up with Agent Bill Coulson, Clark Gregg, returning to voice in this episode. He finds Mjolnir in the same framing from that Iron Man 2 post-credit scene. Meanwhile, at the Project Pegasus base, the SHIELD strike unit detains Natasha.
I may not have been a fan of Tony Stark, but I didn't kill him.
Save your spin for Pierce. We want you in New York first thing for questioning.
Frank Grillo returns to voice Brock Rumlow here, future Crossbones. He references Pierce, aka World Security Council Secretary Alexander Pierce, Robert Redford's character from Captain America Winter Soldier and Avengers Endgame. And on the right of that unit is Rollins, Callan Mulvey's character from Rumlow's group. Just like how Steve Rogers takes down this same
KG
unit in a
Beast.
confined space in Captain America Winter Soldier, Natasha does the same. As she repeatedly jabs the guy in the jaw, you can see little dribbles of spit flying out. And there's just some really fun animation direction on Natasha's Natasha's combat, staying on her use of her right leg. First to knee a guy, then without stepping down to kick a guy behind her, then keeping the leg up, hooking over to another guy, and then bringing that heel back on the guy behind her. And then only now, after changing her balance, she finishes with a simultaneous punch kick. Rumlow realizes she's escaped.
Oh, come on!
Yeah, the animation on the mouths while characters talk in this show is a little non-specific, so in this case it looks like Rumlow is about to make the F consonant, like, oh, come on. And then back at the Mjolnir site in Puente Antiguo, New Mexico, a term that in Spanish translates to ancient bridge, an Easter egg that was in Thor, referencing this being a connection point to the ancient Bifrost Bridge. Hawkeye Clint Barton, voiced by Jeremy Renner, says,
Also, no one can lift it. Not even Jackson. And he does CrossFit.
yeah, Agent Jackson was actually one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents at this site in the Thor film, played by Jamie McShane.
Lancey Jackson, West Side Perimeter. Go check it out.
Now, to be clear, this Fury and Hawkeye are not the same universe ones who ended episode 1 when Captain Carter arrived through the portal. In that reality, Steve Rogers never went down into the ice with that shield, whereas that was his fate in this universe, as we learn in the final scene. Coulson thinks Thor's hot.
He's a Caucasian male, mid-20s, with really great hair.
Excuse me?
It's an accurate description, sir. He's gorgeous.
I'm not going to apologize for it at all.
He tosses his wet hair, similar to how Chris Hemsworth did during these scenes in the movie. The animators also gave Thor super blonde eyebrows with no dark borderlines to outline them as a way of evoking Hemsworth's weirdly bleached eyebrows in that movie. Glad they stopped doing that in the MCU. Now in the film, it was Coulson who
Yeah, it always looked a little
Fury
weird.
wasn't actually here because Coulson wanted to see if Thor could lift the hammer. Now it is Fury, but before Thor gets the chance, Clint slips and lets the arrow fly in the bolt of lightning. Ironically, the force of nature that should have empowered the God of Thunder.
Oh,
Fury and Coulson
nice little
appreciate
detail.
Thor's corpse.
I'm sorry, this is still creepy to me.
He smells like lavender.
Really?
Similar to how the Guardians of the Galaxy sniffed and drooled over his incapacitated body in Infinity War.
This is a man. A handsome, muscular man.
On to Culver University in Virginia, the setting of the battle in the 2008 Hulk movie. Betty Ross is voiced by Stephanie Penicello, and she's wearing the same clothes Betty wears in that movie, including her mother's necklace. That in the movie she pawns, and Banner later returns to her. Betty helps Natasha realize that nanotech interfered with the syringe, a clue of course pointing to Pimtech, and then on the table Natasha sees a hat and jacket for Stanley's Pizza Parlor. That was a restaurant in the movie where Banner works, run by Stanley Lieber. His name a nod to Stan Lee, and he's played by actor Paul Soles, who voiced Bruce Banner in the 60s animated series The Marvel Superheroes.
Oh,
Fury's
I didn't know
screen
that.
during the call are files of all the Avengers candidates: Clint Barton, Thor, Tony Stark. On the left, Bruce Banner, Hulk, and above him,
This looks
a
like
female
Janet.
I thought was Natasha, but that's actually the same file photo of
Janet,
Van
yeah.
Dyne that later appears on the S.H.I.E.L.D. servers. So the answer to Fury's mystery was right there in front of him the whole time. The death/disappearance of his OG Avenger that led to her daughter working for S.H.I.E.L.D., and when she died, her father Hank Pym losing it. Bruce Banner emerges from the closet, voiced by Mark Ruffalo.
No need for violence, Agent Romanoff.
It sounds so
That's probably not gonna
strange
work out
with his
for
delivery.
anyone.
And the Watcher watches
In a
Coulson drive
good
onto the
way.
New Mexico site where an Asgardian army led by Loki arrives.
They look like they're from Earth?
Maybe Middle Earth?
Coulson naturally is in the Lord of the Rings. Loki, voiced by Tom Hiddleston, of course, orders,
You would do best to kneel before a god.
just like he ordered the Germans to kneel. And when he tried to force the Mongolians to kneel to him in Loki episode 1, he introduces himself.
I am Loki, Crown Prince of Asgard, the rightful king of Jotunheim, and god of mischief.
Yeah, crowned king of Asgard, but rightful king of Jotunheim. This would mean that had Thor died in the first Thor film, Loki would have been unchallenged in seizing the throne, though at this point in the narrative, he has not yet taken Jotunheim. Odin's probably still in his Odin sleep, which Lady Sif, voiced by Jamie Alexander, seems to indicate.
He's not wrong. The Allfather would want us to listen.
Also among Loki's ranks are the Warriors 3, Volstagg,
Yep.
Fandral, and Hogun, and in the far background, the Asgardian destroyer armor, which Fury chats with later. later. Loki uses the Casket of Ancient Winters to freeze Fury's forces. He actually found this in Odin's vault in the Thor film, in the scene where Odin confirmed to him his frost giant lineage, and Loki later used this against Heimdall during his coup of Asgard. But real quick, thanks to our sponsor, The Walking Dead No Man's Land is the official mobile game for AMC's The Musket and free gas for 24 hours. So download now using my link or by scanning the QR code on screen. Bruce and Natasha appear on the campus crosswalk bridge where Banner is cornered in the movie. General Thaddeus Ross appears, voiced by Mike McGill, and Banner turns into the Hulk, and Natasha dives out, sticking her famous landing pose that Yelena Belova covered for in Black Widow. Now, I like how this version of the Hulk uses design elements from both the 2008 Ed Norton film, like the longer, shaggier hair, but also the 2012 Ruffalo redesign, like the humanistic expressions in the face, also chest hair. And I honestly think they kept those sympathetic Ruffalo features to make this even more shocking. God! Now, it is largely so disturbing because of Hulk's confused facial expressions as he suffocates his own inflating flesh. And I hate to do this, but if you show Hulk's inflation frame by frame, his neck and cheeks,
there's some people out there that are like getting a little excited about this, I'm sure.
From the creases between his muscles as they squeeze together. Now, the explosion is green smoke, I assume, because Disney might have felt uneasy with fluids or wet tissue or bone or guts.
Probably.
You could also see this as a kind of blood mist as Hank Pym's tech vaporizes him from the inside out. Yeah, this frame by frame stuff ain't as fun when the imagery ain't so Disney. Now, Natasha calls Coulson to get his password to log into
the fact that he used one of those enlarger discs on his heart.
Steve. I heart Steve. 0704.
Wow. Good one, Coulson.
Yes, a reminder of Coulson's fan crush on Steve Rogers, with 0704 being Steve's birthday of July 4th. Natasha brings up files on Phil Coulson, Nick Fury, Janet Van Dyne, Maria Hill, and Alexander Pierce, but Janet is listed as deceased. And then over in the left corner, you can see her file was accessed recently, along with those other active members at 11:23 the day before. And then the camera cuts back to Natasha as she realizes who accessed this, quote, a woman who died 2 years ago, referring to Janet's daughter of Hope.
Fury, it's Hope! It's all about Hope!
And Fury listens to this voicemail in Isabella's Diner, the town eatery in the 2011 Thor film. Coulson quotes the Avengers Initiative speech to Fury, and he shows him the memo that was written by Fury, perhaps part of the paperwork that Fury originally drafted in that final scene of Captain Marvel. And that could be why Fury now retrieves the Captain Marvel pager that was boosted with Kree tech that he and Danvers agreed that they would use to summon her at the end of the Captain Marvel film, and of course he later used in the Infinity War post-credit scene. The Watcher also oversees this misty cemetery in San Francisco. Now, in Avengers Endgame, a memorial was set up overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge on Crissy Field on the city side of the bay, but in this shot the city is in the background, meaning this cemetery would be on the other side of the bridge in Marin County. Fury, or who we think is Fury, approaches the grave of Hope Van Dyne.
Oh, the sound design there.
Hank Pym.
Yeah, we hear a little insect buzz there for Hank Pym in his yellow jacket armor, which Natasha might have been able to hear ever so softly in the library earlier.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that might have been it.
Douglas returns to voice Pym.
The balls you have to come here and stand over her grave.
And yeah, Pym was wearing the Yellow Jacket suit. In the comics, Hank Pym was the first to suit up as Yellow Jacket after he left the Ant-Man mantle. Not really a good guy in the 80s comics.
Nope.
Now, of course, Fury is very much out of character.
I doubt she'd mind, considering she's dead. Her mother was an agent? I don't give a damn about any of them.
Yes, this irreverence comes from him actually being Loki, disguised as Fury, which is why the only time his tone shifts to serious is when he asks about Thor.
And what of Thor, Prince of Asgard?
Now, Fury responds,
Agent Hope Van Dyne was killed on a mission outside Odessa, Ukraine.
Odessa. Now, as I went into an Inside Marvel, Odessa could refer to that SHIELD mission that Natasha Romanoff went on, where she ran into the Winter Soldier.
5 years ago, I was escorting a nuclear engineer. Somebody shot out my tires near Odessa, but the Winter Soldier was there, so he shot him straight through me.
But in this reality, Hope Van Dyne could have been Fury's go-to Avenger to go on such missions before he would take his big swings on Natasha Romanoff. But whereas Natasha survived the Winter Soldier's bullet, Hope did not. Hank reveals it was he in Natasha's syringe, he who loosened
It was
Clint's
Hank
fingers to
Pym
release the
all
arrow, and
along.
evoking when Scott Lang clung to Hawkeye's arrow in Civil War, it was Hank Pym who buzzed into Clint's ear and mushed up his brain. And it was Hank Pym who threw a resizing disc like the ones we've seen Ant-Man use on Hulk's heart, which caused it to enlarge separate from the rest of his body, and I guess pump out blood at a faster rate than his other glands
That's my
and muscles
guess.
could adjust for. What a way to go! I guess
So
since Hulk grows at a rate proportional
fucked.
to his anger, something that would be linked to his heart rate, I guess this could happen. It's just
That's a good
upsetting that
point.
Hank Pym would know to do this because Hulk is supposed to be invulnerable, even to internal projectiles. Like Banner in Avengers says that he put a gun in his mouth and Hulk spit out the bullet. But I guess that doesn't apply to magical Pym tech applied to internal organs, using Hulk's own growth powers against him. Between this and Pym particles having time travel capabilities, anyone with Pym tech is potentially the deadliest killer in the MCU, and apparently this does answer the age-old question of what would happen if Ant-Man blew up inside Thanos' booty
Yeah,
hole
I mentioned
and
that as
decided
well.
to enlarge. Fury deftly swats away Hank, he blocks his blows, he evades his lasers, and he uses duplication projection, of course revealing himself as the god of mischief. And I like how the reveal uses this mix of Samuel L. Jackson's laughter with Tom Hiddleston's laughter, because Nick Fury would not be laughing maniacally in this moment, Loki would. It's just kind of fun, like seeing Chris Evans do an impression of Loki, do an impression of him. Loki, in a not at all surprising twist, takes over the planet, marches into the UN, and makes his big speech to the world.
It's the unspoken truth of humanity that you crave subjugation. The bright lure of freedom hobbles you, diminishes your life's joy.
Of course, this is Loki's speech to the Germans from Avengers.
It's the unspoken truth of humanity that you crave subjugation. The bright lure of freedom diminishes your life's joy.
Actually, in Times Square, the chyron over there on the left reads green explosion at Culver. Yeah, if that's what you want to call it. There's also a coffee tree cafe, billboards for Bulgarian, Olympia the musical. But then on the far right, an ad for Pingo Dolce. That was the juice from the 2008 Hulk
Oh,
film that
wow.
led into the bottling plant and got random people sick.
Like Stan Lee.
Fury and Coulson look over the row of coffins containing the Avengers' remains. I don't know what you put in there for Hulk, but each are draped with their logo.
A bunch of green
Thor's
sludge.
hammer, Hawkeye's shield and Zero, Hulk's fist.
I have a question about Romanoff, because
But there's only 5 because there's one Avenger left still frozen in ice. And Fury
which
wipes
we'll
away
check
that
ourselves here in a
Cat's
second. I think I
shield.
still have the tab open with this episode up. I want to check something.
So, where's the fight?
Yes, Captain Marvel's glow reflects on Fury's face, similar to the way it did on Tony Stark's face when she rescued him in Endgame. Carol here is voiced by Alexandra Daniels, and she's wearing the red on blue suit that she wore at the end of Captain Marvel, as opposed to the one with the gold trim that she wore when she met with the Avengers at the start of Endgame, or the blue-topped one on the other side of the blip in Endgame. So whenever her first costume change occurred, it would have happened closer to the modern era. I would be curious to see a new Avengers lineup co-captained by Steve Rogers and Carol Danvers, especially for what light this could shed on Carol's mystery backstory with Monica Rambeau, something alluded to a few times in WandaVision and
All right.
to be
That's a good
explored
point.
in the Marvels. Support new rock stars by checking out our
All
merch
right,
options,
all
including our Marvel What If
Mine,
limited
it's
edition
on my
shirt.
way.
I love
It's
this.
on my way. It's on its way.
And a reminder that the
I'm on my way. Anyway. Hold on a second. I want to check something in Natasha's death scene when she's reaching for the phone. There was something like I saw on a rewatch on somebody's, I think it was on the Rejects reaction to it that caught my eye that I didn't necessarily notice the first time. And I just want to kind of play it back and see. Yeah. Okay, hold up. I'm just going to play it for you guys real quick here and see what you guys think. So, looking at the perspective here, it almost looks like there's 2 things that could be happening to Natasha. Either A, she's just being dragged into the darkness by Hank, and whatever happens to her, happens to her. We don't really find out how she dies. Or B, she just got shrunk. Because, hold on, let me play it. She gets tossed around, she starts crawling for the phone, and then the way she pulls back, and maybe I can do it in post on here for you guys. It just like the way it zooms back out like that and transitions perspectives, it almost to me kind of looks like maybe he shrunk her. Maybe kind of doing what, and then the phone just kind of gets away and see like it looks like she's going in behind that collapsed bookcase. Almost like like he does to her what happened to Janet in the original timeline. You know, her regulator gets damaged or whatever. She disables it and she shrinks through the molecules going into the quantum realm as we know. Like doing the reverse of that, like he shrunk Natasha and maybe finished her off that way. I don't know. Just wondering, what do you guys think? I noticed that on the rewatch, like I mentioned, not like initially going through it myself. So I'd love to know your opinions on that one, because I'm surprised they didn't question it at all. So it's just like made me wonder if I was just kind of being crazy on seeing that, because I haven't watched everybody's reactions to it just yet, because I've been, as you guys might have noticed if you're subscribed, I've put out like 4 separate videos today. So I haven't really had time to sit back and watch other people's as of yet. So I'd be curious to see if anybody else has kind of made the same question or pondering on that moment. So I'd love to know what you guys think. I really like this episode. I like the dark twist on it. Hank Pym is a darker character from even the comics. He's always kind of rode a little bit of a line, and I can 100% see a world where he could have been a villain had he not had his daughter or Janet around in any kind of the way. And losing her to someone he also detested, like he has this strained relationship with S.H.I.E.L.D. from the get-go and how they've used his technology. We saw that at the opening of Ant-Man. So like the first Ant-Man. So like I'm just like, okay, I could 100% see like Hope, like the grounding factor, him, the one that really kind of kept him grounded. Like if she was removed from that by somebody that maybe he once trusted or maybe he once held in some regard, but they've had a falling out, and then him just like full on losing it. Because yeah, he's had a couple of unpleasant runs in the comics with his fellow heroes, so it's pretty interesting to see how they kind of parallel that in here. But guys, this was another fun episode. I'm excited to see where they go from here. What about you guys? What did you think of this? Are there any things, Easter eggs that you caught while watching it that they didn't point out here? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Huge shout out to our channel legends, Mandy Sherritt, Ryan, Karen, Jason Coleman, Philly Vane, and Yuri Korshkov. Thank you guys so much for your support. Guys, if you want to talk Marvel, DC, whatever, come hang out in our Discord or follow me on my socials. Links to all those are in the description of this video. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.